Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to the social sessions. Today is the 4th episode with the theme designing. Out of all the questions I've got from you on social media, there were a lot of designing questions, so we made an individual topic out of it, and today I'm gonna answer all the questions about that. And for sure many of you want to know different aspects of designing, so I'm just going through the questions and let's see if that explains everything you want to know. So let's see the first question. I'm also trying to make this logical, and I can also see my writing isn't that really good, so it is sometimes I have to reread what I have written down. The first question asked about designing is from our Dutch YouTube designer. He is starting to design and mostly YouTuber. Mike's Creatieve Wereld. Hi Mike. His question is how does your design process is look alike. How do I say it? How my designing process is going? Well, in basic lines, my designing process is getting inspiration, which I also explained about in the last episode. And in that inspiration, you have to find something you can translate to crochet patterns, crochet design. Like you have to first think out, okay, I have an inspiration for something, and how am I going to put that inspiration into a design? Which stitches I'm going to use, which lines do I want to show, which technique I'm going to use, and most of the time I already know exactly what I want to do, but if I'm not sure, I just make some swatches out of different things I have in my head. And before I start, I mostly, when it is possible, I draw something out in simple lines on paper with a pencil, like how a shape has to be, or how an overlay motif needs to fall down into the pattern. Those kind of small things I first draw out before I start, because then I also have a visual on how I wanted it to be. And once that is done, and I already have made all those things before I really start crocheting, I also made another decision, which is what kind of yarn do I want to use and what colors, because it's also part of the inspiration. Because you can, if your inspiration is, for example, the sea, you're not going to use pinks and green, well, green yes, but pinks and golds, for example. It means it also has to suit the theme you want to use to make the inspiration even get better. Obviously you don't gonna crochet a leaf in, well, purple, although there probably are purple petals or leaves, but well, you get the point. Like, you want to match the colors and with the whole concept you have in your head. So once all these steps are done, I most of the time just start crocheting, and then it's just having a notebook besides me, writing down round by round or row by row, just how it goes. And often, if I'm very, very sure about the whole thing already, I also photograph each round or each row already, as it can be of use in a further pattern writing. But if I'm not sure already about how the outcome will be, I'm not doing it, and I just crochet another example later on to see if it really has the result I wanted it to be. So that's how the whole design process in baselines is like. Getting inspiration, think about how that inspiration needs to be a pattern, make swatches or draw out some simple things, choose your colors and yarn, start crocheting, and in the whole crocheting part is of course the end result, and you along the way you'll have to see how tension falls, how much increase you need, how much decrease you need, but that's all a feeling and all out in the moment. I can't teach you or explain it because it's just something happening when working on something. You really need to experience that while working on a design. So in baselines, this is the whole part designing. Pattern writing after it is of course another thing, which I'm gonna definitely discuss in a next episode called patterns. For now, this is the answer to my question on how my process in designing looks. Then we have a next question from Karen. Hi Karen. Do testers help you? Well, yes. A designer without testers is a nobody, because the many hours you spend on designing something and writing it down and getting it out there for anyone who likes it definitely needs some testing, because in the late hours you sometimes write down things that are really cryptic or have some typos or whatever, so they need to be tested definitely. And especially I crochet everything myself, but I'm a left-hander, and I always wanted also to be tested by a right-handed person, because I have to mirror my pattern things always, and I want to make sure a right-handed standard version is correct. And besides that, you also want to see if someone gets the same result as you crocheted. So it's very important to test, and I have my testers for that. Besides it's always a good idea to test, because you also have more examples to show of your pattern. So yes, that's the question. Actually, do testers help you? Yes, they of course help me, but I also learned over the years that you can't test anything. There's always some typo slipping through, or you can't work with too many testers, because everyone is reading or seeing a crochet pattern differently, and one tells you okay fine, it needs to be this, while another one has a totally different opinion on the same thing or the same part of the pattern, which makes you really confused at a moment, like okay, what do I need to write down to make this really good? So I also learned through the years, a few testers in your team is better than have a lot of them, because it also delivers a lot of confusion for the one who writes them. But with the team I'm working with, this is really great. I can't say anything else. So that's your answer. Then the same Karen has another question. Do you have a thought process that lets you see where there might be questions in a pattern? Yes, of course I do. When I'm creating something, I especially think of, like, up ahead when designing. I'm never gonna think like, okay, I don't have to do this in this pattern because it might be difficult for someone or hard to understand, because then you are putting a limit on your creativity, and you don't want that. But I'm definitely sometimes am crocheting something and doing something while thinking, this might be very difficult for someone to understand, or I really need to explain this part better by adding some more photos or lines or little notes to make it even more understandable. And even if I don't think it, my testing always mention those things, like okay, round 10 in your pattern, I really didn't catch that up. It's really fake. It's not good. It's not the way it must be. You have to do something about it. Like, so that's a process also, and in that way we try to tackle most of the things in designing a pattern and getting it out in the best form possible. Still, you can't write down or explain everything right in on paper. So that's why I also started my YouTube channel, to sometimes also show a hard technique in a video, because sometimes 3 minutes of a video can tell you more than 1,000 words, and that's why I'm also gonna use this YouTube channel to show you some techniques or hard parts of patterns to make it even more understandable. So yes, we definitely think about problem solving. Let me see. What is the next question? Well, here is Amanda with, do you have a design process? The inspiration comes from places and cultures, and how do you translate it into your designing? Well, actually this is a question which belongs a bit to the design, to the inspiration episode, but still it is, yeah, important to know that my inspiration forms the most basic thing start designing, because well, as told, the basic steps before designing which I use definitely start with number one, the inspiration. And I'm not gonna explain the whole process again because I did at the beginning of this video, but the inspiration, especially from places and cultures, like in my first book Journey, make it possible to adopt things into crochet. So well, the answer is actually already in this video, so Amanda, just watch and you have your answer earlier. And then we have Diane asking me, can you tell me the process to creating a new pattern? Well, same question, same answer. I already explained a little. Then we have Karen once again with, how do you write the instructions for your patterns? Well, that's a fun question, because at first hand, while designing, I'll write down everything by hand in a notebook, and although I have a perfect handwriting, when designing, it sometimes is a little bit unreadable, and that's partly because I just scratch all kind of things out. I'm trying to write down a full round or row already, but most of the time it's just instructions, really basic, which I work out fully later on. But that's the first thing to write down. Once I have finished my design, I'm gonna take those notes and type them out on my computer. So then I'll digitalize it. And well, that's just happening in a Word document, just like everyone else uses. But before you are there, pattern writing is also something that is really a part of designing for sure, because it isn't that easy. You can't just write anything down with having the feeling you did it, because it's not just like writing a novel, it's just writing a pattern, instructions, which must be understandable for a lot of people. So over the years I have developed myself a lot of times in writing down things even better than I did, and many things has to be considered when writing a crochet pattern. Like, you have to be very specific on sizes, yarns used, and how many meters of yards you have used, special notes which are very important to that pattern, how you describe stitches, how you use what is the word, like double crochet, we use the D and the C, how you use that abbreviations, and that is something not that easy to do, because many people think they are writing down something, but it's really one big mess. And I'm not gonna say I do it the right way, but at least the thing I mostly heard is that my patterns are very good to understand and very detailed in explanation, which I'm very grateful for, because that's the point I'm trying to reach. But it costs a lot of time, and I hope it really reflects that in my patterns. But yeah, that's the way how I write the pattern, and with it you also, it's not only writing, you also drawing, charts, making photos, whatever it comes. But yeah, that's the way how I write a pattern. So that's your answer to the question, Karen. Then we have Moche. She asked me, what did you miss in other designs when it comes to designing? Well, I also said something about that in an inspiration episode, but the mainly thing I missed in other designs is that one thing that is different than all the others, and that's what most important is to me when it comes to designing. Like, you want to create something that isn't out there already, or isn't, well, almost same thing that someone else has created. And with crocheting, that is a hard thing, because we all use the same stitches, we all use the same technique, so it's hard to find something that is unique in its own way. And for sure, that is the whole picture, from color choice to your stitch use. And you can be always original, but you have to try. And what I especially missed in other designs was a real good background story to it, like the why, how a pattern came to life, and why it was created, and how it was created. And I always try to give that extra mile with my patterns. It never shows up from nothing. Like, there's always a reason why I started designing it, and so far I have noticed is that people really like that. So that's something I missed in other designs. Not saying other designs are not good enough or mine are better, but that at least is something I try to develop in my designing skills. So thank you, Mochi. Let me see, this one is already done. Then we have Sunipa. Hi Sunipa. Do you have a team to finish your projects? Well, no. You can't have a team to finish projects, because if you're designing, you never can write down a pattern ahead. It would be very, very well, you maybe can if the pattern is really basic, like a sweater which is only made out of simple stitches and only acquires size differences. Then you could write down a pattern ahead and tell some people, okay, fine, make it and let me hear your experience. But when with my crochet designs, that is no option, because I really have to make everything myself to see how tension works, how things are falling down, how things are connected. So everything I do, I'll finish myself, and then the test team will work at it once again to see if things are correct. But they never finish something I started. I'm the one who finishing things, and with their experience and criticism, I'll finish my pattern, because I feel you can't design by writing down something you think and then leave it to someone else and well, go ahead, see what you get out of it, and well, that's it. I always want to experience it myself, because it's my inspiration, it's my design. I'll have to create it, and then someone else can do it. So the answer is no. And then the last question is from Olivia Miller. How do you feel about creating garments, designing garments? Actually, well, this is a really fun question. Garments. I have a very hateful relationship with garments, because all the garments I have crocheted from or knitted from other patterns, not mine, are actually always have been not suitable, because it's really hard to obtain the right size for your body measurements. And that's not because I can measure myself, but it's more like you never can be sure how the real garment turns out in the end, because if you use some other kind of yarns or whatsoever, you have a different tension in your hand. With garment, all those things are very important, and that's why I always have felt like, okay, please stay off garments, don't do it, no success guaranteed. And over the last year I'm also wondering if I really have to start on this subject garments and see where it brings me. So there is something I'm working on slowly. Sometimes I pick it up, sometimes I put it away, because, well, garments are also pretty boring to make, in my opinion. But there is a cardigan I'm working on, which is a very basic version, a crochet cardigan, because I also feel there is not much crochet garment patterns out there, and if they are, they're most of the time are for women, and we men also like something. All those women have husbands or brothers or sons or whatsoever who also need cardigans. So maybe it was also for me a thought, like, okay, there also has to be more of this for guys like me. So I'm working on it. I can promise it will eventually turn out something, but for now it looks great. And well, let's see where it goes. So I never say never. I'm not gonna do garments, but in my first opinion on it was always like, I don't know. But in the meantime I changed a little, and well, let's see where it will get us. And well, it's a fun question, Olivia, thank you for asking. Well, so far the questions for the part designing. I've told a little about how the process of designing for me works. Maybe another designer uses a total different way, because I'm not saying my method is the one you use for designing, or it's just what I'm doing. Maybe another designer do it in a total different way. Well, for me works inspiration, color choices, making swatches, drawing out some things, start working on it, write down row by row, round by round, and explore the whole thing while crocheting it, maybe frogging it out sometimes, starting over, maybe adjusting something. That's just the whole process of designing, and that's what makes something in the end, well, what it is. So far, designing. Thank you for watching. I hope you find it interesting and you like the answers, hearing something about my design process. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.